Easy Niche Riches. Chapter 1. What is a niche market? Let's start an online business. Now, what do we sell? Hey, I know. I've seen a lot of buzz this year about the home console gaming market. We can have a site focused on the Xbox 360, the Nintendo Wii, and the PlayStation 3. According to my search engine keyword analysis, this is the field to be in. There are tons of customers for this market. So, we start our site, we check our stats, and a few months later, whoops, we aren't doing so well. To find out why, we enter our keywords into the search engines and discover that some 50 sites pop up before ours. And here we've already done our site by the SEO book. Our mistake was in picking a fight we can't win. A whole lot of websites came before us and did the same things we did. Our ideas weren't very original. All we did was go by the formula that has led many others to success. But we're just chasing our competitors' tails. We can study all the web marketing tricks we want, but as long as we have such a fantastically broad market, we're going to have to put up with a lot of competition. And the search engine-driven market of the Internet doesn't allow for a lot of winners. To understand why niche markets are so important, we first have to examine the prisoner's dilemma. Briefly, this is an exercise in game theory which illustrates a situation in which a range of strategies is presented so that if all the players try to be the sole winner, none of them will win. If all the players try a cooperative strategy, they all get a second place win. If one player goes for the first place win, while the rest agree to cooperate, that one player will cheat all of the others out of even a partial victory. The 2001 movie A Beautiful Mind has a segment devoted to the Nobel Prize-winning John Nash's work in game theory. In it, he illustrates the predicament of four men competing for the affection of the most beautiful woman in the bar, which only one of them can win. The movie also features several scenes involving the Asian board game of Go, which also requires an understanding of game theory in order to win. Now, I'm not a statistic mathematician, and I don't want to force you, the reader, to be one either. So without diving too deep into heavy science, let's take a look at some real-world models. Say that we have a group of car salesmen in our small town who can choose what model to sell, and suppose that we simplify the market down to three makes of vehicles: Ford, Chevrolet, and Toyota. If Ford has a market share of 60%, Chevrolet has a market share of 30%, and Toyota has a market share of 10%, and we have four dealers on the market, what strategy is best for each dealer? Well, if all four dealers try to head straight for the Ford market, even if all four are top salesmen, the best they can hope for is 1/4 of 60%, or 15%. Customers who are loyal to Chevrolets and Toyotas will simply head out of town. That's 40% of the market going down the drain. Eventually, one auto seller will get into Chevrolets and Toyotas, perhaps even abandoning Fords. Now the three remaining dealers in the Ford market get 20% each, and are quite thrilled about it. But the Chevrolet and Toyota dealer is quietly doing double their business at 40%. We see big business failing to understand this concept every day. Take food in America. I like spinach pasta, but every store in my area doesn't carry it. They each have a whole aisle devoted to 100 kinds of wheat pasta. As a result, I settle grudgingly for the wheat. But I'd buy a lot more pasta if I had some variety. Or consider the fast food restaurant: a burger, fries, and a Coke. Since so many restaurants offer this same staple, there's really no difference. But given a choice, I'd rather have a club sandwich, deep-fried zucchini, and an iced tea. Since nobody caters to my market, I have given up on fast food entirely. When we do dine out, we usually go for ethnic cuisine, such as Chinese or Italian. And for another matter, I smoke, but I only smoke pipes. The smell of cigarettes to a pipe smoker is just as foul as it is to a non-smoker. Yet every convenience store I walk into stocks the same 50 brands of cigarette and no pipe tobacco. Thankfully, there's a specialized tobacco store in my town, and they get 100% of my business. After all, if I'm going to keep my bad habit, I might as well make it as enjoyable as possible, right? Some categories of niche markets. Linked with the concept of niches is the concept of a market demographic profile. There are many general ways to break the base of customers into segments. And if you break them down far enough, each of them qualifies as a broad general niche. Here are a few examples. Age-based niches. This is a common example, and one which most businesses are aware of. Only a fool would air commercials for denture adhesives and medic alert tags during a cartoon, or commercials for sugary breakfast cereals and toys during The Price is Right. Everywhere we go, we seek needs appropriate to our age group. Ethnic and religious-based niches. Here again, but somewhat less, we see that businesses usually get it, but sometimes less. Have you noticed lately that some fast food restaurants have started putting more minorities in their television commercials? Notably, Pizza Hut and McDonald's in America have gone for greater diversity in their markets. Some businesses are keenly aware that a large part of their market is of a certain color or creed, while others seem to be almost entirely blind to it. Next time you drive past a string of car dealerships, notice that some of them take the trouble to display a sign that says, "Se habla español." The Hispanic market flocks to that dealership. Related to the concept of race is the culture surrounding particular religions. Religions carry with them a lifestyle determined by the beliefs of its members. A religion that has strict dietary requirements is more likely to head for a restaurant that doesn't serve the kinds of foods they believe are contrary to their beliefs. Check out a magazine or website focused on a particular religion and note the kinds of ads it runs. A group of teetotalers certainly aren't going to favor a liquor store, and a group which restricts the consumption of meat won't be giving the local butcher much business. Political and social-based niches. Another easy one to grasp, if the American market activity is anything to go by. NASCAR sports and Republicans, nature shows and Democrats, hunting and Second Amendment fans, newspapers and First Amendment fans. Where do you sell your Hummers? On the Fox network, naturally. What about Volkswagens and Kias? Better hustle those on NPR. In college, we had a pretty solid division between right-wing members who listened to mostly country and mainstream rock, and left-wings who listened largely to alternative rock. One character I remember very well was half punk rocker and half country. He deliberately made mixtapes that played Dwight Yoakam and the Dead Kennedys, right after the Ramones and Hank Williams. He did it mostly to amuse himself, I think, and possibly to drive anybody who tried to characterize him crazy. Speaking of young people in music, let's examine one of the most elusive kinds of niche markets, lifestyle-based niches. Try a fun self-test. To members of what kind of lifestyle would each of the following lines be funny? A. Very funny, Scotty. Now beam up my clothes. B. Which one is the any key? C. God didn't make Adam and Steve. You see, each of these lines are inside jokes, which serves as a cultural recognition device. They each play on ideas that are common to a specific lifestyle. If you see any of these on a t-shirt or bumper sticker, and you aren't familiar with the target culture, you're sitting there and saying, I don't get it. If you're in the culture, of course, you may be laughing yourself silly. Not to keep you in suspense a moment longer, here are the answers. A. This is a common line amongst Trekkies. Trekkies are fans of the popular science fiction show Star Trek and all the derivative spin-offs and movies. A common line on the original show was uttered by the captain, "Beam me up, Scotty," an instruction for the engineer on board the ship to use the transporter, a fictional device, to teleport him from the planet's surface back to the ship. This line plays on the humorous idea, well, never a real scene in actuality, that Scotty just might once have thought to play a joke on the captain by beaming him up naked onto the ship while leaving his clothes behind, since the captain never specified to beam me up and my clothes. B. This would be a line used by someone in the computer culture, and most particularly those who work at a technical support desk helping customers. A common instruction by a program is to press any key to continue. The instruction, of course, means any of the keys on the keyboard will make the program go to the next screen. But the joke plays on how computer users are sometimes trying to operate a machine when they have no idea what's going on and take everything literally. Tech support people routinely trade horror stories about their difficulty in trying to walk users through the steps of operating their computers. C. This one may be obvious, but it refers to a person who believes that God intended for a marriage to be between a man and a woman. Lifestyles are the most ephemeral of market segments. People may change their lifestyle over time as new cultural movements and fads go by. The hard part about marketing to a lifestyle sector is that it is always a little bit impenetrable to outsiders, and yet the business that displays its identification with that lifestyle will tend to corner its business. It is only recently that niche marketing has won widespread favor. The main reason is that the Internet has made niche marketing more feasible. Before the Internet, a niche populated by a total of 1,000 people scattered all over the earth would have been impossible to reach. Put those 1,000 people on the Internet, and they all search Google for a keyword phrase associated with their own interest, which lands them at the one site that caters to their interests. Presto, a new niche market is born. The groundbreaking book, The Long Tail, by Chris Anderson, is one recent work that analyzed the niche market strategy. The name, The Long Tail, comes from what a graph looks like if we record the market sectors of any category of product ranked by popularity. You can find this shape in the statistical distributions of many markets. Typically, there will be one or two hugely popular brands or varieties, and that is Typically, there will be one or two hugely popular brands or varieties, and as many as 100 of less popular brands or varieties. For example, in the beverage market, the most popular beverages will be milk, soda, and fruit juice. But at the long tail, some of the less popular markets would be maybe pomegranate, prune juice, and things of that nature. This is also true with computer operating systems. You have the Mac OS and the Windows operating system, but at the long tail you may have OS/2 Warp, React OS, Solaris, Linux, and the lesser-known operating systems. Now, if you were a market, which part would you go for? If you go for the big area, you'll be competing with thousands of others who have the same idea. If you go for the smaller areas, you may have a bigger patch all to yourself and the undying loyalty of a customer base. You see many examples of the long-tail marketing all over the Internet, but the full realization of the power of this marketing method is just beginning to be understood. In the rest of this audiobook, we're going to thoroughly explore the niche marketing strategy. Our studies will range from dry and scholarly to freakishly quirky, but always will be covering some very exciting territory.